This is Salt's YouTube, and we're picking out the hottest topics in dating to discuss. And today, it's are there gender roles for men and women in relationships? Okay, Cam, where may avid Salt viewers have seen you before?
So I was on the third wheel dates.
You are on the third wheel dates.
On a table sitting across from somebody.
Yes.
Yes.
And just remind people, how did that go? Was it love at first sight?
It was 2 URLs, unfortunately.
2 URLs,
which-
no date, no match, not
Yeah.
even a cheeky handhold under the table.
No, not even that.
Okay, but so you've got a girlfriend. Hey,
Yes.
look, we don't mind if we're not the ones who picked her for you.
Yes.
We just love.
Yes,
And that's
exactly.
great. And how did that all kick off then?
It was a very interesting story. So how it kicked off
We
was...
love interesting
This was
stories.
a very interesting
Cam.
story. So
Yeah.
very relevant to today was the first day that I met her. I went to this church. I was exploring churches within Norwich.
I love that she loves Jesus.
And she does love Jesus. She
Yes,
loves
Cam,
Jesus.
come on.
Love Jesus.
Yeah.
What happened so I got a bit carried away with myself. This was the first day I'd met this poor woman. We were doing Songs of Solomon church. I don't know what came over me.
Oh, Songs of Solomon.
Songs of Solomon.
Ooh.
We had a student group afterwards, so we were getting together for a Bible study.
Lovely.
And I timed it such that, because we were getting food, I timed it such that I was right behind her in the line. We got our food first before everyone else did. I sat down and I asked her quite simply, I think you're really cool, I think you're really cute, do you want to go on a date with me? She said yes, believe it or not.
Well, that's great.
Yes.
And the
yes.
rest is history.
The rest is history. But she said in the text later, no, I'm not interested in a relationship right now.
Oh my gosh, the swings and roundabouts
It swings
of
and
this
roundabouts.
love story.
Yeah, I felt like I was on a roundabout when I was on
Yeah.
that. The happy ending of it is a couple of months later, and I see this message, and she asked me out.
She asked you out.
She asked me out.
Wow.
Yeah, we went from there, and we've been dating well over a year and a half now.
Oh my gosh, well over a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means, right?
Ring before spring, and it's coming up. No.
Look, that's super exciting. And I love that, okay, you asked her out, but then also she asked you out. And
Mm-hmm.
we're talking a bit about gender roles in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there are set things that as Christians fall under the man's domain and the woman's domain? Or do you think actually things aren't quite as clear cut as that?
Yeah. I think one of the beautiful things about the church is that, and this is throughout history, is that there's been always a plurality in what we believe. And there's always been a lot of plasticity with what society believes and what we as individuals have as well. I think intellectually I've formed my decisions on it. I would say I'm on the more complementarian end of the spectrum.
Okay.
On the individual issues, this is the thing. I think the intellectual is one hand, and what you actually do is a completely other story.
Yeah.
So again, a lot of it is figuring it out. A lot of it is playing to what individual needs that a relationship has as well. Because at the end of the day, we are different people, and that, like I said, there is a lot of plasticity within a modern relationship as well. For example, in the modern era, a woman could be earning just as much or have just as much leadership skills. So in some senses, they can do a lot of the leadership, superficially leadership things.
Yeah.
But still also not necessarily have the leader title. It's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm not really sure of a lot of the specifics and how that actually functions within a marriage.
When it comes to dating, which lots of our viewers are doing, right? Do you feel like there's a way of going about it as the man in dating?
This is going to be really annoying. I keep reiterating it, that there is a lot of mobility in what we can do in the modern era. And I think that's what's brilliant about what the kind of women's rights revolution has done within the past 100 or so years. It's allowed for people to take up different roles and to do different things that they necessarily didn't have the access to in the past.
Yeah.
However, I think we end up seeing is nonetheless, sometimes we end up just pulling the ripcord and we end up reverting to certain stereotypes, I'll say, that ends up actually happening, because a stereotype is a stereotype. We don't really know how we got it. I don't know if it's entirely a societally driven process or if it's something that's hardwired into us, and I don't know to the extent of which those are. But I think that what happens is that women find certain things attractive, men find certain things attractive. The average woman feels that something a man does is attractive, and the average woman feels that something is attractive. Doesn't mean that the not so average woman finds the average man attractive, and vice versa. Because again, I think a lot of these things exist on a spectrum.
So you're saying that whilst it doesn't have to be this way, you think that we kind of, on average, default to women finding typically masculine things attractive in a man, just as men find sort of typically feminine things attractive in a woman.
Much better put than me, but much better than I would have said it. But yes.
So it doesn't have to be that way.
Yes.
But ultimately, you think that if you sort of take this sort of snapshot across the board, particularly maybe with Christian dating, you're more likely to find that those sort of masculine traits are what women find more attractive.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go through a couple of typical, stages of a relationship or dating, and let's see. And what I want to know from you is what your preference is, as in for you personally in a relationship, but also do you feel that should be enforced across, not enforced, but actually that's kind of across the board, like as a Christian man, I think that's probably right. Or do you just think, okay, maybe I prefer it this way, but I don't, I think that's totally like your choice. I don't think it makes a difference. So first off, asking a woman out, do you prefer that to be you, or are you like flattered if the woman asks you out? And do you think that that's something that all Christian men should do?
So what I would say is I think that is my preference, and that is the advice I give to Christian men. Because remember, I'm talking averages. The average woman likes to be asked on a date. That's a controversial thing to say.
It's very nice to be asked on a date, because then you've got the security of knowing that person's been vulnerable. They've asked you. You don't have to sort of go through the vulnerability of putting yourself out there because the other person's done it. But surely men quite like that as well. Not having to be the one to take the risk.
Yes. No, certainly it is. I mean, it is a relief. And when my girlfriend asked me out, I was like, that's really cool. And that's why I don't think it should be a hard or fast rule. The man asks the woman out, because when it happened to me, it felt really good. It didn't feel like you seem like a musical fan, Defying Gravity. I knew it. I knew you would say that. No, it didn't feel like I was unraveling the law of entropy or anything.
Okay, you were just like, this is quite nice. Look, slightly different dynamic in that you'd already done that. So it's unlikely that you were going to go and ask a second time.
No.
So if she wanted the relationship, she probably needed to give you some indication,
Yeah.
So she made that.
She gave me indications, but I was a man, so it flew straight over the head.
Oh, really?
So I was like,
She'd been dropping hints.
She'd been dropping hints.
Yeah, we as Christians need to work on our flirting.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, what about arranging the date? So when she said, I'd like to go on a date, did you then arrange it?
Yes, I initially arranged when I initially asked her out. And that's something I think is good because it shows initiative. It shows that you've actually put thought into it. Again, I think that across the board, I think that's just a nice thing to do.
I think the person who asks should be the person to arrange.
Yes.
Regardless if that's the man or the woman.
Yes.
I actually don't think the man has to ask out. I'm perfectly comfortable asking someone out. And what I think we see biblically is God loves strong, bold women. And if Ruth had decided she wasn't going to make an approach because she was going to hang back and wait for Boaz, then I wonder where we would be. I'm sure God would have found another way. But we do see, very strong women through the Bible.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's set in stone. That said, I love it when someone asks me out, but I think that's less because I'm a woman and I need to be asked out by a man, and more because how fun for somebody to take the strain off and for me just to know they like me, and then I can make a decision from there without that sort of vulnerability. So if I've asked someone out, I would expect to suggest somewhere to go for a date, I would say. Would you pick her up?
That is a very interesting one, because I think safety has really started to be hammered home within the past few years.
So you don't necessarily, particularly if you're on a salt date, you don't want that person to know where you live.
Address, yes.
You'd want that to come sort of later down the line. So I agree. At that sort of first date stage where you particularly if it's someone you don't have any context for, you don't have mutual friends or anything, you probably don't want them to. But what if you had asked out someone who's in your friendship group, who's come for coffees and movie nights at your house loads, and you've gone to hers, you know where she lives. Would you turn up and go with her?
Yes, I think picking her up and making that.
Would you?
Yes.
Cam? That's so nice. No one's ever picked me up from my house.
Really?
I'd love it if someone picked me up from my house. How sweet is that? Okay, what about paying for the date then, Cam? Who should pay?
I think it should be initiated by whoever actually initiated the date should pay.
Okay.
Or at the very minimum, you go Dutch, which is 50-50.
Yeah, okay, so now I wonder if I'm inconsistent, right? Because I'm very happy to ask, and if I've asked, I want to organise it. I still don't think I'd pay 100%. That I'd still expect a 50-50 split, I think.
But if it was the opposite way, would you expect the man to pay, or would you still go Dutch?
I would always offer to go Dutch, and that has been my blanket rule. But recently I did go on a date where I didn't, and I think it's so funny. He had really spoken about, because I've written a book on feminism, he had really spoken about his values. And then he went off to the toilet and they brought over the, I can't believe I'm saying this, I hope he doesn't watch it. He went off to the toilet and they brought over the bill, and I was like, and I went to pay it and I thought, do you know what? And it was literally, I'd had 2 soft drinks and he'd had 2 alcoholic drinks. So it's not like, I mean, mine wouldn't have added up too much. But I thought, I won't pay it because actually I think he will value stepping up to do that, and I don't want him to come back from the toilet, and I've done that when he's made it clear that those values are important to him. So I said, can you bring this back when he's here? I don't like, I'm very happy to pay it, but I don't want to make that decision. And then he came over to take it, and then I had a mini freak out, and I was like, oh, so I went to get my wallet on my phone so that I could pay for some of, at least I was going to be like, can we go half? But then he marched over to the card machine. He was like, I've got it, and went to pay, and I thought, okay, cool, that's what he wants. And if someone really insists, like I'll offer if they insist, then I'm like, great, thank you so much, that's really kind. Like, I think it's important to know how to accept gifts, right? That's important to them. I love that. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, right? So I said, oh, thanks. I don't think he heard me say thanks, because he said another 2 times, don't worry, I've got it. No, I'll pay. And I was like, I think for me, what's playing it safe is just splitting, you know? That feels like I'm not going to offend someone by having them think I expect them to pay, like maybe I did that time.
Yeah, but also I think the onus is on the person who initiated the date to say, I'll pay. Would you not agree?
When your girlfriend asked you out,
yes,
if she'd then gone, great, I know this little place, I'd love for us to go and get pizza there. When the bill had come, if she had gone, it's on me, does that feel good?
No, not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. I think just out of social etiquette, I think it's good.
She should offer, and you would be like, don't be silly.
Yes, and then I would have
I'm gonna pay.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's funny how everyone's got a different thing on this. And like you say, it's not just across the board. I think everyone should turn up to a date willing to put their hand in their pocket. It's a different climate, and I think that the man no longer is sitting there going, this is a high value woman, therefore I pay. Or this is someone I don't want to see again, so I'm not that fussed about paying. I don't think it's a way of reading what the man is investing in you, particularly these days. So I would encourage women not to judge a man who doesn't insist on paying. Should the man be the first one to go in for a kiss or a handhold or a physical?
I think it's plastic, I think.
Could be, could not.
It could be, could not.
Would you prefer to be the one to make that move?
Yes, I'd very much prefer to be in the kind of driving seat of that decision. Again, it's high risk. That whole interaction is a very high risk interaction. We touched on vulnerability quite a lot. To show affection, to put yourself out there, you need to show a bit of vulnerability. And vulnerability is strength in a way. Hello. Yeah.
She loves
she
what
loves
you're
that.
saying.
She likes
vulnerability is strength, and she is so here for it. Asking someone to marry you, should the man do that?
I think a man should, and I think
We found one that you're willing to commit to.
Yes, now I'm willing to commit to, ironically commit to. So everything that we've been talking about right now is with regards to interpersonal relationships, not necessarily a marriage. Okay. So my complementarian kind of drive really starts
kicks in when we're talking about something as serious as the covenant of marriage.
Yes. Okay. Because that's where I start to see the kind of analogies between what God has done with his church. God is the initiator of our salvation. God is the initiator of every single covenant that we have had. Okay. God is described as the bridegroom. We are described as the bride. So in that sense, I think that's really where the complementarian aspect of me really starts to snap in, and then I'm not like, oh, really, it depends. I think this is where it starts to become maybe a bit more black and white.
Okay.
And again, I think within a marriage, that's a bigger discussion that I'm not equipped for. But
in terms of specifically what that relationship dynamic looks like, and even within complementarian marriages, that can look very different. And there are different. Yeah. Okay. I'm sort of centre egalitarian open on these kinds of things. I think that the idea of a proposal is so built in that it's the man to the woman. It's so unusual the other way around. That I know that if I was entering into a relationship, in his mind, he'd be thinking, if we get to that stage, it'll be me. So I wouldn't want to rush the situation by doing it myself. It's not that I don't think a woman can ask. It's that I think that we're sort of set up to expect the man to, and I think that he will expect to, and I wouldn't want to take that away from him. I also wouldn't want to take away from me the amazing moment of being asked. You know, so I want that for myself. And I'd hope that my partner would like look forward to doing something really special and initiating a really like beautiful moment in our relationship. So I would feel like I was jumping the gun on him if I was like, now just get this done. I'll buy a ring. What kind of ring would you buy? What kind of ring do people buy? What about asking her parents for permission before proposing?
Again, I think that's more from a cultural time where a woman was handed over. Father's possession, now it is the husband's possession. I think that's maybe a bit of an outdated concept. Having important conversations with the parents about future steps and what their daughter's future's going to look like, I think that's very valuable. Permission, on the other hand, I think that's implying something else. That's implying ownership, which I don't necessarily.
Hey, we found one we agree on.
There we go.
I think amazing to have some good chats with your future in-laws about like being a part of their family and being an amazing partner to their daughter. And you want them to be on board with it because you marry someone, you marry their family, right? But definitely. Permission, I agree. That's, hey, look at that. We wiggled and we wove, and just at the end, we came together. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, no, certainly.
Thank you so much, Cam. Not only for trusting me with a third wheel date, but now for trusting me with what is a pretty sticky topic to get into. And I think that we in the church need to carry these topics where there are differences of opinion, just like we have. But respect them, hear them out, have good conversations, let people know that just because you're part of one body doesn't mean that that means that if you disagree on something, you're no longer welcome or anything like that. It's just so not the case. We want to work through this stuff together. Love it.
No, certainly.
Thanks for getting to the end, guys. I'm flattered. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stick around on Salt's YouTube channel for more hot topic conversations.